up, party people? Hey. So we're going to have a good time. The cool thing, it's a smaller room, so we can be interactive, we can ask questions, and we can do some cool stuff. So I'm Rollett. I came all the way from Orlando, Florida, to hang out with you guys. Really, really cool bunch, and excited to be here. And what I've done for the past 10 years is I've taken stuff that I know, and I package it, and I sell it online. And you guys will hear some of that story through it here today. And I'm going to teach you guys how you guys can do that as well, and also how to create a digital business that creates money for you and freedom and income for you, no matter where you are and what you do. So let me see if I can get this thing working for me. So weird way to start out this conversation, but I'm spending a lot of my time with global entrepreneurship and thinking how entrepreneurs can really change the world. And so this is a crazy ass question that I started asking myself is, how can we actually end extreme poverty in the world? And it turns out that the United Nations, we're holding an event in the United Nations in June for 20 of our clients to go and speak at the United Nations. So we've been doing a lot of research with them. And the answer is you create more entrepreneurs. That's actually how you end global poverty. I'm not making this shit up. It's actually done by the United Nations wanting to create millions of entrepreneurs in Asia, in Africa, and in the Americas. There's actually a study from the Sustainable Development Goals. This is from the United Nations, the United Nations website. And they say that in our generations, actually in the next 14 years, extreme poverty will completely be eradicated by entrepreneurs. By 2030, they're going to eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living less than $1.25 a day. And they want to do that by creating entrepreneurs. And it's millions upon millions of micro-entrepreneurs. It's not millions upon millions of Mark Zuckerbergs. It's millions of people who live in a hut and who get a $100 microloan, and they buy a chicken, and they sell the chicken, and now they buy 2 chickens, and now they buy 4 chickens, and now they buy 8 chickens, and now all of a sudden they have KFC in the middle of a village in Africa. And it's crazy. Sounds nuts, but this is the future of entrepreneurship. But this is what's happening right here, right now, in our own world, even here in the United States, is we are going out there and we're starting these micro businesses. We've been talking a couple of folks where they're doing these micro launches. They're creating these digital products, digital courses. They're creating coaching programs where they're selling $5,000 worth of products, $10,000 worth of products, and then $50,000 worth of products, $100,000 worth of products. Most people think you go out with a bang, and even Brandon, when he was talking in his presentation earlier with his Kickstarter campaigns and even his own businesses, he doesn't start out by saying, all right, cool, let's do a Kickstarter campaign and $1 million shows up tomorrow. It's evolutionary. Now he's able to raise $15,000 in 7 minutes or whatever, but it's a long process that has enabled that, and it's these types of entrepreneurs. So imagine that. It's entrepreneurs end extreme poverty. It's not schools and universities, so most people think you need to get a degree, you need to get a certification, you need to go through an institution, and that's going to help to eradicate poverty. It's definitely not our elected officials, right? It's not the government. So I have a lot of clients in Venezuela right now. Venezuela is in a very, very bad state. There are curfews, there's tanks on the end of the roads making sure that people go in on time, there's rations on food, and it is entrepreneurs that are actually changing the culture in Venezuela. There is a 16-year-old entrepreneur. These people wait in line for days just to get rice. This guy put a hot dog stand right next to a tank. He started a hot dog stand in Venezuela, sells hot dogs for 25 cents a piece, and now he's able to feed his entire family by selling hot dogs. It's the entrepreneurs on the ground, it's not the elected officials that are going to change the world. It's us, it's the people in this room, right? You and me in this room, and that's fucking crazy. And it's a huge opportunity for all of us to really do something, right? We might think that, yeah, I'm just selling rice. Yes, I'm just selling hot dogs. Yes, I'm just selling a course on Periscope. But you're really changing people's lives, and you have the opportunity to impact so many people. So how in the world do we do it? And we do it through education, right? So how do you create more entrepreneurs? You educate people to become entrepreneurs. So the dropout test. How many of you guys have dropped out of high school or college? All right, there's at least 4 of you. That's awesome. So I myself am a dropout. And, so again, it wasn't schools or institutions that made me an entrepreneur. So many people think, well, I got to go to school for 4 years, and then I can start a business. Or I need to go to real estate school and take a real estate test. Or I need to, before I can start investing in real estate property, I need to go to 17 seminars and do all these things. No one bestows upon you a title. And so back in high school, I wanted to be Master P. Seems a little weird, right? But in the 90s, as I was growing up, hip-hop moguls were the superstars. So where we think about Zuckerberg and all these people now as rock stars, in the 90s, it was Dame Dash and Jay-Z, it was P. Diddy and Bad Boy Records, it was Baby from Cash Money, and for me, it was Master P, because this dude, what he did, is he's like, no one wants to put my music in the stores, no one wants to give me a show, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my own music, I'm going to sell it to all my neighbors, and then I'm going to sign all my neighbors, and I'm going to put albums out for them. So I did the exact same thing when I was 17 years old. My high school is batshit crazy, and they let me out of school at noon every single day to start the senior project, and I started a record label called Rack Records. And we started we signed ourselves as the first band on that record label because no one gave us permission. So what that led into is me touring the country between the ages of 18 and 23. I played everywhere from Madison Square Garden in New York City out to the Knitting Factory in LA. Mostly not cool places like that. Most of them little dive bars where we ate ramen noodles because we drove to the truck stop and we turned on the hot water, and that's how we heated up the ramen noodles to actually eat them that night. And that's what touring the world looks like. We were one of the first independent bands on iTunes. We were one of the first 100 independent bands that were allowed to actually sell their albums on iTunes back in the day, and we built that into a really, really good business. No one bestowed this upon us. So I dropped out of school to start a business of the worst business in the entire world, which is the music industry. So it wasn't college that taught me how to do that. It was me and my own intuition saying, hey, you know what? I have a product that the world needs to hear. At the time, it was music. And I was a rapper in a rock band. Who the heck wants to see a white rapper in a rock band touring the country, right? So it was an interesting choice at the time. But what about certifications, designations, and tested professionals? So a lot of folks want to go and they want to get certified. They want to go spend a couple grand for a couple days and go to an event and say, hey, now I'm XYZ certified. And they put 3 letters after their name. Well, I deal with a lot of financial advisors. And FINRA is an organization that regulates financial advisors. They have 140 designations for financial professionals. 140 different ways for you to say that you're a financial advisor. Palladian has a database of 260 of those designations. So people pay thousands of dollars to get 3 letters after their name for one of these 260 designations. Well, the most recognized of those designations is CFP, Certified Financial Planner, right? That's the number one. How many people even know what a certified financial planner is? Not many in this room. Well, what about the people with more than $1 million to invest with a financial advisor? Only 11%. And I can't use my phone. 11% of accredited investors over $1 million even know what CFP stands for. So what about number 256 on that list? Right? So it's not degrees, it's not credentials, it's not certifications, it's not schools, it's not any of these things. So where do entrepreneurs learn from? They actually learn from other entrepreneurs. They learn from us. You guys are here learning from people who are in the trenches doing these types of things. You're learning from guys like Brandon. You're learning from his successes. You're learning from his failures. You're learning from guys like, you'll hear from Kevin Harrington later. He's going to tell you a lot of his successes. He's also going to tell you a lot of his failures and some of his pitfalls. You're going to hear from Jeff Hoffman later, who has started Priceline.com, and he's going to tell you about all the ups and all the downs. We learn from people who have done the things that we want to do. That's who entrepreneurs learn from. Now, 10 years ago, I'm dating myself now, I was sitting in a room right where you guys are sitting today. Brandon told the story earlier about how, what changed his life was sitting in a room and learning about the book Think and Grow Rich. Well, the exact same thing happened to me. So right when my band broke up, I had just gotten married, I was 24 years old, and my wife's parents basically said that I was a deadbeat and I needed to go find something to support my now life. So they dragged me to an event just like the one you guys are sitting in today. They took me to an event like this. Now imagine your in-laws, you just got married, and they're like, you need to get your ass in gear, and you need to figure out a way to support our daughter. So I went to an event like this, one of the speakers presented something, and I was like, oh my god, that is awesome, and I maxed out all 3 of my credit cards at the time. Wanted a massive credit card debt because I was like, that jackass on stage can do it? I can do it too. And I bought everything that was sold at that event, and it completely changed my life. And what I learned, so what I bought at that event was a way for me to sell bird feeders and hammocks online. It was the first 2 things that I ever sold. Backyardhammocks.com and birdfeederstogo.com. From that, I started studying, started learning internet marketing, and I wanted to give back to the music community. Because again, it was this whole entrepreneurs teach entrepreneurs thing. So who were the best people to teach musicians how to make it in the music world was another musician. So I created a course where I taught musicians exactly how to do that. It was called The New Music Economy. It was 4 videos, and it was shot on a flip camera, if you guys remember those things. It was a little white flip camera. I was too broke to own a tripod, so I put it on actually like a box, just like this, and I stacked books up, because I'm a tall dude, so I needed to stack books up, and I hit record on the flip camera, and I ran, and I was like, yo, what up, this is Greg, and I'm going to teach you some stuff about being in the music industry. I created 4 videos like that, sold them online for $47, and we sold 30,000 of those courses over the next 5 years to musicians all over the world. From there, we created customized websites for bands, we created $500 coaching programs, we did speaking tours, we provided education and training to more than 500,000 musicians through a partnership we did with Reverb Nation. It was really, really cool, and that's when I grasped the power of education, because by teaching others, I helped them learn a skill that would improve their life. I got bands out there on the road making money. The number one problem that musicians have is they hate their freaking job working at McDonald's or serving freaking margaritas, and they want to go play music for a living. We solved that problem for them. I improved their life because now they were a professional musician. And in turn, I changed my own life because I got to create things that changed people's lives, and they gave me money for it. 30,000 times $47 is a good amount of money for a dude who's 24, 25 years old, sitting in his underwear, typing emails on his computer. Right? It's a pretty good living, pretty good way to do things, and I was helping people in the process. Now, through that, I've created my own ambitious life. And in the last 10 years, I've hosted events at the United Nations. That's me speaking at the UN last year. We have the event coming up this year. Actually, Jeff Hoffman's our keynote speaker at the United Nations in just a few weeks in New York City. I threw an event with Steve Forbes in New York City, which is pretty awesome. This dude, for any women in the room, this is Bob the Bachelor. He was the second Bachelor on The Bachelor. He comes around the world with us, and we host red carpet events together. I've hosted a TV show called Times Square Today that's been seen on A&E and Bravo. That's on the set of Times Square Today. I've written a best-selling book, Celebrity Branding You. I have a radio show in Orlando.